Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging, Shadowdark. We're in the process of going through U1, Sinister Secret of Salt Marsh. We got down into the cellar and we poked around a little bit. We've killed some skeletons down there in a barred off area and found some alchemist's hovel. And then we decided to back out because we were kind of loaded with booty. And we didn't really want to press on from there. So we ended up leveling up to 3. Now, in old school days, I'm pretty sure this was meant to take a long time. Like, you actually had to go and pay money and find someone to train you to ascend to the next level and all that sort of stuff. You know, spellcasters had to get trained to use new spells, and martial characters had to get training to, you know, be better with their weapons. And, you know, it was like meant to be a time passing thing. That has largely gone away for the most part, where it's just, okay, you level up. I mean, sometimes I guess you just level up on the spot as if you reach your XP number. But even when I started playing 4th edition D&D, my DM didn't really level us up on the spot. It was usually like, okay, you had to at least get back to town or something like that. You had to have some sort of safe location. It wasn't in the middle of a dungeon usually. So we went back to Baileythorpe and leveled up, and we've got some treasure. We've got yeah, look at all this shit. Norbert's got to sell all this stuff. So we have the Secret of the Philosopher's Stone, which is worth 500 gold pieces if we can sell it. But I think I said that we are not going to be able to do that in Baileythorpe. And then there was also the issue of us being cursed. So I think we want to spend some time and we want to decide where exactly the biggest city is, because we're going to want to travel there. So let's go with we want to put it further up here, like quite a ways. This, what did we say? This was like 30 miles, right? So do we want the big city to be 30 miles or so from Baileythorpe? I think that's not crazy. On a 6-mile hex, that would be 5 hexes away. So it's relatively close. So for us here, it'd be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Okay? So 30, 19. I'm just going to put a city down there. All right. And now we want to generate the intervening terrain and stuff. So let's go back to Sandbox Generator, and we're going to do some rolls here. So it's D10 to start, then 6 D10, 6 and 6, and that'll generate all the results that we need to fill this in. So I'm gonna have my start be this one, and that's gonna be grassland. All right, now I'm gonna ignore half of these results because I do want this to be water. So we're gonna say this is all water. Probably more than half of the results, really, but okay. So let's see. First one here is this. Then we skip over this, skip over this, skip over this. Then a 7 is forest. And then the 5 is also going to be grassland. Okay, and then the next set from here, 1 is going to be grassland. This over here, probably also water. Not necessarily, but yeah, this might all be water. Okay. In which case, I'm looking at this. Which is going to be also forest. And then this one is 8, which is hills. Then this is also grassland. This would be grassland. This would be forest. And then last, this would be hills as well. Okay, so sort of pseudo generation there of land masses. So we're gonna do that again. We're gonna generate this spot as well, and this is all gonna be land, so we'll do full generation there. Okay, 8 is hills, and I said we were gonna do this, yeah. Okay, and then let's see, we have this is hills, this is hills, this is hills. Okay, and then 7 is forest, 9 is marsh. See, and then you get like blup blup, and it's just like, it doesn't really make much sense. But okay, and then past that we have more hills, forest, more hills, 4, 5, 9, more marsh, and a mountain over here randomly, and then more marsh. And then last but not least, we have hills here, forest here, hills here, and there, hills here, and finally another mountain here. It somewhat makes sense. Sort of. I mean, I'd probably make maybe a couple manual adjustments there, but alright. And then we want to do this one more time for this one right here. Okay, our starting hex is forest. Here. Hopefully this city is not in a forest, but I'll make sure it doesn't happen. But it might be on the edge of a forest. So then 6 grassland. Yeah, it would be on a forest, so we're gonna put that on grassland. We'll cheat a little bit there. So this would be forest, this would be forest, so it's surrounded by forests, and then more marshes. Okay, that's fine. And then 2 is going to be grassland, 7 is more forest, Big city on the edge of the forest. A lot of lumbering activity, perhaps. One is going to be grassland. And there's a mountain there. It just... No, we're going to skip that. I'm going to just change it. It's a forest. 9 is going to be more marsh. And then 2 also more marshes. Lastly, we got some hills here. We have more forests. Okay. It's nestled in there, this big city. It's wild. 8 more hills. 10 more. So there'd be a mountain here and then a mountain here in between marshes. Does that make sense to you? No. So we're going to make this forest and we're going to make this marsh. And then the last one would also technically be marsh. So there you go. Then I think beyond that, we do want this to be somewhat near the ocean. Let's move this. Move this slightly. We're gonna move this here. Okay. And then we can change this. And I'll just throw in my own sort of stuff here. We'll do something like that. To sort of generate coastline. We have a nice port here. This can all just be deep ocean. And there you go. And we're developing our whole region here as we go. And it's all a big mishmash. Is it satisfying? I don't know. I think you're always going to run into problems with random generation like this, where it's based on like dice rolls. No matter what, it's going to come up random. So, yeah, I think if you don't have an eye for like a region that you'd like to, you know, sculpt yourself. Whereas like, okay, yes, I can picture in my mind's eye and I know I want big forest here, I want mountains here, I want this here, these unique features here. If you don't really have an eye for that, which I don't, then you're probably better off just using other people's maps or using an app, a site or something like Hexcrawl that is more likely to just clump features together to be more realistic. But you might not care that much. You might like the random generation. Hard to say. All right, so there's our stretch. So I think we have a road then going through the hills, through a bit of the forest, the old forest road, up through the grasslands to this big city, which we will call... I don't like any of their name generators, but let's give it a try. Let's roll 1d30. Okay, so it's noun ton. No, D. It's just a city name ton. And they all suck. Every last one sucks. 15. Orarton. It's just terrible. What are these names, man? None of these are good. I could have gotten Fultonton. I mean, Dunton maybe is okay. But Carmton? What if I asked ChatGPT? Here, just gonna have it give me 5 names for a big fantasy city. Here we go. It's gonna be insane. It's gonna be so much better than this entire generator could ever hope to accomplish. Okay, there you got Drakemire, Silverspire, Caltharian, Amberhaven, Duskmoor. Well, it is a little sort of kind of young adult fantasy novel. But, you know, mostly I think this is from like a D&D, modern D&D perspective, and I'd say this is pretty on brand for that. let's I'm gonna retool this. Make it a little bit more kind of exotic sounding, because this is a little too, yeah, teenage fantasy for me. Here you go. Vorthalis, Zarathun, Nisarian, Shaldrakar. There you go. Orindarai. Okay, well, if we want to throw out anything that sounds really like elven or something, let's go with Vorthalis. I think that's fine. Label. There you go, Vorthalis. Done and done. And we will let's see. I mean, this is all gonna be filled with layers and dungeons and landmarks and stuff. Do I want to generate all this shit? I mean, if you pass through, no, I don't think we need to generate really anything, because we're not looking for stuff. So we're not looking for dungeons. We're not looking for layers. Now, if we're going to roll random encounters, so we might end up finding layers or patrols of creatures from a nearby lair, but we don't really need to put that down ahead of time. As for landmarks, yeah, I mean, technically, probably some of those are going to be cited. I don't know. How would I know? Yeah, I mean, I'd have to generate this ahead of time. There's not really any way around that. But it takes a while. I mean, it's emergent gameplay, I'll give it that. Alright, I guess let's just roll. So this is technically going to be 19 D6s. Most of which are going to be landmarks, but not all of them. So, let's see. 8, 8, and 3. These are all our rolls spiraling out from the center here. So, let's see. Anything that's 1, 2, or 3 is a landmark. It's pretty simple. So... landmark. I'm just looking at how many 4s I rolled, by the way, because those are all settlements. Small settlements, mind you, but settlements. And it's just like, good lord. How do I mean, this is like, so this is 3-mile hexes, right? And the generator is actually designed for 2-mile hexes. And it's like, yes, I do believe it is relatively realistic, more or less, to have little hamlets and stuff like every 4 miles. I mean, maybe that's relatively realistic. I'm not exactly sure, but okay, sure. It's like, how do I differentiate all these as like a DM or something? Like, just what makes this an interesting settlement that has interesting features in each one? It's like so many in this one region here, right? There's one little region. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 settlements. It's like I can't differentiate that many. So, oh boy, what does Shadowdark do? Hold on. Shadowdark is way more sparse. way more sparse. And it's 6 mile, but let's keep the 3 mile hex. Okay, and let's just look at, hold on. So for each hex, you roll a d6, and on a 1, it has a point of interest, which could be a dungeon, could be a town, could be a village, could be a barbarian camp, whatever. I rolled 2 1s across all that. Which I think is slightly below average. But basically, we'd have a point of interest. God, let's see here. Two, 3, 5, 4, 1. I think we'd have one here. Then we'd roll a d20. Technically, we roll 2 d20. So we got 3 and 3. So it's a natural landmark that's being attacked by an invader. Yep. Why? I mean, that's up for you to decide. And then we'd have one other point of interest. It would be a barrow mound that's abandoned and in ruins. But yeah, well, I'm not surprised by that. And that would be, oh gosh, 1, 4, that would be like here or something in the marsh, I think. And that would be it. All the rest would just be empty space. And there would be some sort of natural landmark attacked by invaders, and then a barrow mound in ruins over here. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't mind a middle ground somewhere, I guess. So let me just hold on. I have one other document, which was the hold on. Where the frick is it? Filling in the blanks. Okay, now I haven't really looked at this one too much either. But this was the one, a guide to populating hexcrawls. This one was more useful, I thought, for like on the fly, but I don't know exactly. System used here assumes that each hex is 6 miles from face to face, divided into a number of subhexes, each one 1.2 miles face to face. Each 6 mile hex has 1d6 feature and 1d6 layer. As an alternate rule, a referee can roll 1d4 for both features and layers when populating desert or grassland hexes, 1d8 for both when populating jungle and mountainous hexes. Okay, trivially easily to adjust the hex spacing. 5 and 8 mile hexes are 2 other popular sizes, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Possible to use this to populate maps that are much less dense or to generate features on the fly as needed. Right, okay, so let's just go with the 3 mile hex. I mean, let's just keep our sort of spacing here. So this is 3 mile hexes, and that means that these big chunks are, what did we say? 3, 6, although that's not actually 3. Let's see, it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 across. So yeah, certainly we're working with a different scale here, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And let's just do what it says. 1d6 features and 1d6 layer. So ours are definitely more sparse as far as total land. Distance between them by miles and stuff, but that's fine. So 1d6 feature. We got 3 features, 3 layers. It's pretty simple. So then you're gonna roll. Wait a minute. Placing. Blah, blah, blah. It's not set in stone. For each point of interest, use a random number generator to generate a number between 1 and 31. Okay, so that's generated like this. It's a little complicated. Yeah, I guess I get how it works, but it's not gonna really work that easily for us. So we're better off using the other system, or just, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we have 19. And you're just going to roll, basically, for us, 6d19. Okay, and we didn't get any duplicates, so that's good. And now we're going to generate... so we'll just do the first half as layers and the second half as features. And we can generate, so 3d20 for our features. Okay. So in hex number 13 of this section, we have a structure. In hex number 10, we have a terrain feature. And in hex number 5, we have a geologic feature. That gives a lot of various information. So, okay, hex number 5, a geologic feature. It's going to be a D6 thing. 3. So it's a rock feature. So it's just a strange rock of some kind. Rock. The terrain is unusually rocky. This manifests itself in 3 different ways. Okay. I feel like this is not meant to be generated on the fly. I think I was mistaken. Alright, so we have a smaller number of larger rocks with an average diameter of 3d6 feet and a density of 1d4 per 1d20 times 100 feet. Average diameter of like 11 feet. Okay, so there's just a bunch of giant rocks in this area. And then another D100 for the rocks being naturally occurring, the result of erosion, weathering, etc. And then there's additional 1 in 6 chance of something unusual about the rocks. Okay, so then you roll a D6. No, so there's nothing unusual about the rocks. And that's it. That's the whole feature. Just a bunch of naturally occurring large boulders in the area. Is that interesting? I don't know. I mean, it's slightly better than the fucking fallen tree that we got from the other thing. But, needless to say, not especially interesting. Yeah, I would say not especially interesting. And what are you going to do with that? I mean, unless I just start... Unless I just take that in just a wildly different direction as a DM and just start coming up with stuff. By default, what's written here is not super interesting. I mean, even if you get a 1 in 6, it might just be that there's pornographic graffiti written on them, which is mildly interesting. That's about it. Okay, so then what else did we have? I think we had a structure. We had a 17, which was terrain. Okay. So we go to terrain. And then we roll a D100 to see if it's a varying terrain. It's within 1 degree of variation, so basic terrain type remains the same with a slight change. Farmland, grazing land, grassland, shrubland, savannas are all flat, relatively treeless terrains that are within 1 degree of one another. Brilliant. Really exciting, thrilling stuff here. And that's it. That's the whole thing. That's the terrain variance. It's like, oh, instead of a grassland here, we have farmland. Yeesh. Yeesh. Okay, well, this is all pretty questionable stuff, I gotta say. Okay, as a last-ditch thing that we could attempt is actually just using Worldographer to, generate Hexcrawl locations for us. So this will have a flat 10% chance for each hex on land to have a feature. On water, 2%. So if we just click that, boom, it now populates the entire region with symbols. Okay, so now we know that there is plenty of shit between us and Vorthalus, including this thing. And then you can generate random hexcrawl details for this thing. So if we say it's a medium location, nothing grows within 300 feet of the tower. Once was defensive, but now the borders have moved, so only 10 soldiers guard the tower. Okay, I mean, you could regenerate this over and over. An alien presence is lurking in the tower. Wizard's Recluse Tower with only 1 resident, but who knows what else is there. Okay. Oh, that would generate a new one. Okay, yeah, so it's not quite the same as what we wanted. There's no way to... Yeah, okay. But yeah, I guess you could do that as well, as if you just pick a tile and be like, okay, generate a medium feature here. Otherwise, I basically, I think... Pretty sure it just is like... I don't know if... you'd assume that it generated that info. There you go. That's what it is. So this is a grave marker of a leader. Hawk, bear, horse, deer. And if you don't like that, you can just regenerate it. I assume this is a pretty minor feature. There's some sort of magic effect here. It's pretty light on details. And then this is a palace. It's got 100 archers, 250 soldiers, 2 officers. It's a medium class. Okay. And there's a benevolent queen living here with benevolent advisors. Now, I don't think we'd go with a queen. I think you'd go with, like, a baroness or something like that. So yeah, I mean, you could just do it that way then and have it just populate with different features. Just to kind of spitball things. And you don't have to go with whatever random information they generated. You could just use the symbol itself to maybe spur some creativity. Yeah, it's tricky. I don't know where I land too well on the on hexcrawl generation here. I mean, I think for our starting region, it did end up working out okay. I think we got some decent ideas out of it, and it's sort of developed. And I think that's probably true if we took the time to think about and develop all these other ones. It's time consuming for sure. I mean, it is a big thing to like sit down and prepare a whole big hex crawl, especially on this scale, you know. Using like the sandbox generator, it is a lot of things. And again, like having 4 settlements in the region, you know, and this kind of expectation that they're all going to be somewhat unique, which is ridiculous because it's like, why would they be unique? It's just like, yep, here's Hamlet number 274. It's normal people doing their normal jobs and living normal lives. The uniqueness more comes from like the surrounding features, like the enemy layers and stuff. Because if you have a knoll layer next to a hamlet, obviously that's going to impact it in some way. Yeah, I'm not too sure about what I want to do here with Hexcrawl generation. And in general, I'd probably default to just like grabbing someone else's map, someone else that has generated it, and you know, that's kind of populated. You know, there's like Wolves Upon the Coast is sort of like a big it's a very detailed big Hexcrawl world that's fully like detailed with all the encounters and settlements and everything. But it also is kind of a specific tone. I've looked at it, like it has definitely a specific tone of like kind of dark and mysterious, and you know, it's not like typical D&D in the tone and atmosphere and aesthetic and stuff. Yeah, like I said, I'm just surprised there isn't like a big collection of Hexcrawl maps that people have made and put out there. But I guess it doesn't have to be a Hexcrawl, I suppose. Like, you could just find maps, and then you could just convert it to a Hexcrawl by making the map into hexes. So, really, maybe I should have just been looking for D&D maps. But I just thought... like, when I did that generic Hexcrawl thing, that just was, like, the perfect-looking map, the perfect-looking Hexcrawl that I could just, like, yep, here we go. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's a niche thing. I don't think most, like, 5th edition D&D players are playing Hexcrawls. So it's always going to be relatively unpopular, perhaps. Anyways, I think let's just not worry about it too much for now. We just want to move on. We want to finish the Sinister Secret. So we're just going to make a trek across the land to get to Vorthalis. So we're just going to be rolling random encounter checks along the way, and yeah, we'll just see what happens. We'll just see what happens. So we set out for our trek, and this is going to take a while because it's 30 miles. So we're going to have to camp along the way unless we find a settlement, which we'll see. You know, there might be a fort or something. You never know. But alright, let's just keep rolling. So, how far can we travel in one day? Shadowdark says 12 miles. Usually it's like 24 miles. Yeah, well, okay, yeah, so, like, OSE, BXD&D, it's your base movement rate divided by 5. So if you have the base movement rate of 120 feet, you can travel up to 24 miles in a day. But then there's encumbrance. That's an optional rule. So I guess by default, you can just go 124 miles a day, right? I mean, that's just like the usual. Why did Shadowdark go with 12 miles? I guess is the question. I don't know. I mean, if I was really going to do this and get into it, I did like part of what Tales of Argosa did, which was the traveling roles. But a lot of the rest of it I didn't like the actual watch system and stuff like that. That I thought you could just throw out. Yeah, so... And then the travel events could be interesting, I think, theoretically. I didn't like consulting the bones, but, you know, you can just use an oracle. You can just use any dice roll, you know, 50-50, apparently. I don't know if consulting bones actually was 50-50. I never quite figured that out. But I think it's something like 50-50. But yeah, I like the travel rolls where somebody, you know, can be on lookout, somebody can be foraging as you go, somebody can scout ahead or rear guard, someone can be the quartermaster to get a benefit later that night. If you're not traveling on a road or river or something, someone has to be the guide so you don't get lost. Yeah, I like the idea of that. But I didn't like the actual watch system of how much you can move, and it just seemed weird. So, Shadow of the Weird Wizard mentioned, and I think that, I don't know if that's... Probably not. I don't think it really mentions overland travel at all, at least in the player book. And then there's Axe. But Axe is pretty hefty. Pretty damn hefty. And again, is based on your movement, your exploration movement rate. So I guess Shadowdark just assumes that everybody is weighed down quite a bit. And that it just cuts it to 12. And regardless of how much you're carrying or how little you're carrying, it's just 12. So it's not modified at all. It's always 12. Which I think is probably simple. Because I think when I did look at Axe and was trying that, like, you're never going to actually move at 24 miles a day because your entire party has to have 120 feet per turn, which is basically carrying nothing. I mean, this is like, you know, Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli chasing after the hobbits and just like wearing nothing, carrying nothing with them, and just like, yeah, they're force marching and blah blah blah. Yeah, realistically, with the encumbrance rules here, you're never actually going to get 24 miles per day. So I think 12 is a reasonable compromise, because I think when I played and tried it out, that's actually what I was traveling at. Mostly because you have the fighter who's just carrying like plate armor or what, you know, scale armor, and he's wearing all this weaponry and shit. So I think that is, I think 12 miles probably is pretty reasonable in the end. I'm just gonna go with that. I'm not gonna do the travel rolls for now, and I'm not sure if I would do them if I were just DMing, but I would lean towards that way, because I do think it's interesting. Especially when you're actually like traveling deep into the wilderness and stuff. and food is a big concern, and getting lost is a concern, and stuff like that. Here, we're just following the normal road up through the way. So we can move 12 miles per day, so 3, 6, 9, 12. We'll get to this hilly area here. Then 3, 6, 9, 12. We'll be close to Vorthalis, and then the next day we get there. So we're going to spend 2 nights out in the wilderness. I'm pretty sure I have rations for that. Yeah, we got everybody's got rations. So we'll eat a couple of those. And let's roll our first 4 random encounter checks. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've on the end of the day, as the sun's setting, we do get a random encounter. Now, what system do we want to use? Because there's like 8 billion systems that we can use to determine what random encounter we get. We can use Shadowdark system, which depends on the terrain we're in, and it's a D100 roll. Let's just start with that, and if I don't really like it, then we'll move elsewhere. So we'd be in the hills, grassland hills, something like that. Probably just pick grassland here. I think that's the most likely choice. So we're going to roll D100 on this big-ass table. Got a 2. So it's a hunting Smilodon prowling through the tall grass. Okay, I mean, that's pretty clearly just a combat encounter, and let's see, how dangerous is that kind of encounter? It's a level 3, 12 AC, 14 HP, 2 bite attacks at +3, dealing 1d6 damage, so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, it would be an encounter, for sure. Not super interesting, because we would just blast him with blind and deafen, and he'd be blinded, you know, and then we would just butcher him pretty easily. I mean, he's hunting us, and he's sneaking up, prowling through the tall grass, so maybe there's a chance for surprise, and maybe someone would get fucked. But I don't think it's really going to be a tough match for us at level 3. One level 3 enemy is not a match at level 3. So there's that. Alternatively, we could go with the sandbox generator random encounter, which is a 2d6 roll. 7, which means it's going to be NPCs. Okay, so we just generate up random NPCs. Okay, and it would be some indeterminate number of NPCs, is what you're telling me. More or less friendly NPCs who at first glance do not belong to a faction. Okay, I mean, that's also not particularly exciting, I don't think. You roll D100 for their occupation. Okay, there's a scribe. And maybe his retinue or something. Who knows? Well, I don't know. Or he's just a wandering scribe. Yeah, I have no idea. He's generate his appearance, blah, blah, blah. His personality, his favorite thing, his hobby, his dream. He has a secret. Roll 1d6 to see if he has a secret. He doesn't. He has no secrets. That's it, and that's your NPC. Now, is that exciting? Not especially. So then, you could roll on the axe list, which technically you're meant to roll this like every time you check, because depending on your location, there's like a 50% chance or less or something of no encounter. But we're in a civilized area with a road. So, well, no, we're in maybe a Borderlands area here. So you'd roll a d20. And you get 19, which is a dangerous terrain encounter. So you go here and you'd roll a d12 on that table, which would be 8. And you get rough going. Hex is more difficult to traverse than is typical given the terrain type. There's no particular challenge that can be overcome, nor is there any specific danger or hazard that can be bypassed. It simply is just rough going. All speeds are reduced by half in this hex. Is it interesting? Again, not especially. No. So, but we're in like a border, grassland area. Like, what are you really gonna expect here? So then you could roll random encounter from Tales of Argosa, depending on the region. So you'd go with mountains and hills, I guess, or plains and grasslands. Probably plains and grasslands. And this is a D20 list as well, so you get a 9. And here we get 2d4 giant eagles wheeling overhead, descending from the thermals of distant peaks as they survey the grasslands for food. Their chicks are hungry. So again, that's probably going to be a fight as giant eagles swoop down to attack your party. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do you really expect? I mean, how many options really are there going to be of random encounters? It's it's really either fights or maybe you spot something in the distance you can avoid, or it's like a person or something. It's like, hey, how you doing? In this area where there's probably a lot of people, it's not generally going to be that exciting of an encounter. So, I think the axe one doesn't really make much sense because we're just traveling along the road, unless something drastic has happened to the road, and now it's much harder to traverse. That could be interesting if you want to go that route. I don't know where I end up on the spectrum here, random encounters. I'm not really sure. I probably have other random encounter generators. Let me just look real quick. What else do I have that would generate a random encounter? Not that, not that, not that. No, I wouldn't imagine that has it. That might have. Oh, Heroes of Adventure might have some random encounters. Well, let's look at Heroes of Adventure real quick. Random encounters. Here you go. Random encounter generator table. D20. Okay, it's a level 5 to 6 monster. Based on their scale, that's pretty high. That's pretty high. So for Shadowdark, we'd probably be looking at like level 8 plus or something. Like, this is a pretty beefy monster. But then it doesn't tell you what or anything, It just says pick a monster. And then you'd roll for their motivation, like what they're kind of doing, their reaction to the party, and any sort of complication. So you'd roll something like that. So they're protecting, probably they're young or something like that. Their reaction is going to be favorable. So they're kind of, I mean, I don't know how you handle that. Protecting their young, but they like the PCs approaching. But then the complication is there's an equipment issue. What does that mean? I have no idea. This is anytime you're rolling on a random encounter table, it's just going to be kind of some nonsense. And I will say, Shadowdark does have perhaps the easiest thing. There's really not much thinking involved. Like, okay, let's roll on Shadowdark a second time, just as an example. 60. So we get 2d20 nervous peasants stare from their circle of yurts. Alright, that didn't really prove my point, because why would we encounter along the main road here to the big city a bunch of peasants staring nearby from their circle of yurts, and why would they be nervous about us? Unless they're like under duress or something. I don't know, it's weird. Okay, that didn't really prove my point. This one was the wandering merchant fleeing from a furious rhino. The wandering merchant comes up on like all these random encounters as just like, and it's capitalized. It's capital W, capital M, wandering merchant. So it's meant to be like a notable NPC or something that they can keep bumping into or something. He's just wandering into all these dangerous locations, getting into shenanigans. That seems to be the case there. So he's running from a furious rhino. I mean, that's an encounter. I'll admit that's an encounter. And honestly, if we save him and sell him this shit, we probably don't even have to go to the big city, which is kind of good. So all right, let's just run that. That's fine. So we see a guy and his carriage or whatever, and he's for some reason he's off the road. He's like out in the plains nearby, and there's a fucking rhinoceros chasing after him, and he's frantically like whipping his horses to keep running. So I guess let's run that. Now, for distance, when this encounter occurs, Shadowdark does not deal in absolutes. So the best that you could say is that it's distance of far. Now for our house rules and stuff, we're adopting an extra range band of very far. I don't know if I wrote that down or not. I don't think I did. No, I didn't. For some reason, I didn't want to write that down. Let's see. Distances. Close is within 5 feet. Near. Within 30 feet. Far. Within 60 feet. Very far. Within 240 feet. And then there technically would be like within sight, which isn't used in a dungeon or anything. Like, you know, maybe in the most extreme scenarios of like a mega dungeon where you enter this just massive underground cavern that's farther than 240 feet distance or something. But most of the time, yeah, you're not going to use it. But out in the wilderness, it's like you might need to know if something is 500 feet away. I mean, you could probably see it, but it's not within range of any of your abilities. So I do think there needs to be a bit more range bands than Shadowdark allows for. But we're going to go with that. So how far away is this situation? Let's go very far. We'll just set it very. It's 240 feet away is the merchant running away with his carriage. And I think you wouldn't want to set this so that the rhino is just going to overtake the guy before we can even get there, because that's not a very interesting encounter. So, you know, you want to set it so that, like, if we spend all our actions just sprinting towards the situation right away, you know, we'll get there before the rhino takes over the carriage or the cart or whatever. So we can run 60 feet per turn. He's probably moving double that because he's got horses and a cart. So he's probably moving 120 feet per turn. Which means if we stand still, he'll get to us within 2 rounds. I guess, yeah. If nothing happens at the end of the second round, the rhino will tear through this cart. That's what we're gonna do. So let's roll initiative for ourselves. We got a 16. The rhino, I suppose, has a 15. Although, let's look at the rhino stats real quick. -1 dex. Okay, +4 strength. Hold on, I gotta get more. There we go. Excellent. So we go first, and obviously we're going to start moving, and we'll spend all our actions to move. I mean, Grim could pull out his longbow instead, but he wants to get in there. So, oh, I suppose... No, but this is range far, but according to Shadowdark, that is as far as you can see. I think we'd probably change that to range very far, and it would cut it to 240 feet. Which, again, in dungeons, typically is going to be anything you can see you can magic missile, but we do want to curtail that, you know, if we spot an eagle, like 4 miles away in the sky or something like that, with a spyglass, I can't just pew, 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 magic missile it or anything. Yeah, so very far, 240 feet is still pretty good. I wonder... Okay, hold on. Okay, yeah, Magic Missile BX D&D has a range of 150 feet. So we're buffing it a little bit, but it also does lower damage. It does 1d4 compared to 1d6 plus 1. So that's a bit of a trade-off there. Also, we can potentially spam it all day, which is pretty powerful. So, yeah, Shadowdark, more powerful characters, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so yeah, so Denton could just sit here and start sniping the rhinoceros, and why wouldn't he, you know? So, advantage, success, 1d4. He does 4 damage to the rhinoceros. Just sort of pops it in the nose. Boops the rhinoceros with magic missiles. So it's at 21 health now. So we've moved up. Everyone else has moved up 60 feet. Then the cart moves 120 feet. Which means that we're now 60 feet apart from the cart. Okay, and the rhinoceros is pretty damn close to it. Our next initiative is 3, and the rhinoceros is 19. So, the cart is actually going to fly past us. He's just going to keep going. But the rhinoceros now focuses on a new target, which is going to be Grim. And in Shadowdark, it has the charge ability, which lets it move up to double near in a straight line and make 1 horn attack. If it hits, it does ×3 damage. So hopefully this doesn't hit. He gets a d20 plus 4. He missed. So Grim saw it coming a mile away, you know, and like a bull tamer. That can't be. What is the term? Bullfighter. Yeah, fucking yeah, like a bullfighter. He just kind of dodges out of the way at the last second. Matador. All right, but now we get to go. So Grim is gonna spin around and stab Black Silver right into this thing's hide. Oh yeah, big hit for 8 damage. So 21 minus 8 is 13. It's at 13 health, almost half down. And then Clara is going to cast Blind on it. She's going to fail. You know what? I'm just going to let that go. Yeah, I'm not going to waste a luck token on it. So it goes off, but there's actually no ruling for this. Because this is a house rule that a spell fails. Or a house rule that a spell still goes off even if you fail. Whereas Focus, you have to keep maintaining every round. I'm just going to rule that it only lasts 1 round. If it's a Focus spell, it only lasts 1 round if you fail. So it's going to be blind for the next round, and that's it. Denton's going to Magic Missile again. Success for another 1 damage, so it's at 12 health. And Norbert will go in. Now, ooh, here's a good question. Does he get backstabbed because it's blinded? Yeah, I mean, I'd probably have to give it to it, right? Probably have to. I don't know. Well, are we rolling? Are we? Okay, we gotta... Fuck. We gotta think about... Let me go to Tales of Argosa, because this is kind of meant to be, you know, sort of Shadowdark crunchier. So here we have Blind. You suffer a 66% mischance on direct attacks. Opponents that can see clearly gain advantage on attacks against blind targets. So, and honestly, if Norbert's going to get advantage anyways, and he has, the target is injured, so we're giving him the bonus damage from a backstab, then, yeah, I mean, it's a fucking backstab, however we want to cut it. Even if we're not counting it normally as a backstab, it is. Really, but the distinction here is, if the Rhinoceros wasn't below half health, would I give him a backstab? And I would say probably, yeah. I would say probably. Blind is pretty awful in the middle of a combat, so we're gonna give it to him. He hit for 7 damage only, which wasn't massive. But now this Rhinoceros is at 5 health? Yeah, 5 health. And it is blinded for its next turn. So we get a 13, it gets a 13. It does go first. It's going to try to rampage. I'm not going to target Grim. We're going to target... well, it's either Grim or Norbert. Technically, it gets 2 attacks. So we'll do 1 on Norbert, 1 on Grim. But it does have disadvantage on the attack roll. I'm not going to do the 66% mischance. Disadvantage is just so much easier. So we're gonna roll against Norbert. Okay, definitely a miss. And against Grim, definitely a miss. So it just sort of thrashing around a bit, but easy enough to move backwards and not get struck. And then we get to go. It's no longer blind, so we don't get advantage. But fucking Grim just did 6 more damage. So it's at 1. I think it's at 1, so magic missile, guaranteed kill. No problem, dead. Alright, we slew the horrific, you know, feral rhinoceros. And we saved the wandering merchant. Yeah, I'd go either 2 ways, I guess, with the wandering merchant. I'd either make him really just like comic relief kind of character that happens to just have a, you know, a mysterious, inscrutable collection of all sorts of magic items, and like his cart is kind of just like a bottomless bag of goodies, you know. Don't ever try and attack him or steal from him or anything, because you don't fuck with the comic relief characters that can maybe break the 4th wall or something. But yeah, it's just sort of comic relief. Or I'd make him maybe more like the skeletal merchant from Wrath of the Righteous, just very mysterious and maybe kind of like following the characters to some degree, that he keeps showing up and has just these really expensive, rare magic items potentially for sale if they can afford it. I'd go one of those 2 directions depending on the players I'm running it for and the general tone of the campaign. For us, probably we lean more towards the comic relief, and I think Shadowdark generally leans in that direction with some of these random encounters that he can pop out of. Like here in a castle district, he's scalping premium Coliseum seats. In the Arctic, you find him riding on a caribou pulling a sled. In a cave, he's hunting for truffles. In the deep tunnel, he just squeezes out of a narrow fissure. In the forest, he pops out of a rotten tree stump. Yeah, I think he's meant to be a pretty comic relief kind of character. He's half of these he's like running from something. I mean, it's very, very unlikely that you're actually going to encounter the Wandering Merchant once, let alone more than once, because it's a 2% chance for any given random encounter that he's going to show up. But I don't know. I think if he shows up once, I would probably make it much more likely that he shows up again. Like maybe like a 10% chance or something like that. I wouldn't overdo it or anything like that, but you know, I'd probably want him to show up like once every 2 or 3 sessions of play. Of just like this weird recurring character that's either funny or very mysterious and strange. But anyways, we saved him, so that's good. Maybe he would even give us a reward for saving him, but I think we get an XP. Well, actually, we get 2 XP. We saved someone and did a significant encounter. So that's going to go to 10 now. And remember, we're not going to 30 here. I said that we needed to go all the way to 60? Or 65? 60. Yeah, we got to go to 60 XP to level up to 4, which I think is fair. So what would he reward us with? I don't know, some sort of random magic item that I would generate. Probably. Or if I had something specific in mind that I was like, ooh, that would be fun. There's actually some other documents, PDFs or whatever that I want to get. Just focused on collections of magic items. Usually I generate random stuff, but it's, again, it's random. It just doesn't feel the same. But alright, let's try generating a random magic item here from Shadowdark. So first is the item type. It's a wand. Then it's qualities. Okay, it has just one benefit, no curse. That was a good roll. We'll skip over personality because I hate that shit. And then we'll move over to wands. So its feature is that it has jagged crystals sticking out of it. Okay. But what? Okay. So basically, either you can have it do some sort of other benefit, like you'd roll for a potion or armor or something, or you can have it just replicate a spell. So let's just roll a random spell. And on average, it's actually going to generate a tier 2 spell, which is fun. Before I do this, before I would roll this for my players, I'd want to know the specifics of how the wand rules. What am I giving them exactly here? Wands. So you have to have the spell on your spell list. You have to make a spell casting check. And if you fail with a wand, it stops working until you complete a rest. On a critical failure, it permanently breaks. So essentially, it's as if you're just adding the spell to your list, as long as you have the wand. It's just if you ever roll a 1, it breaks, and you have to roll a mishap. So wands are pretty insane, because it's very possible for you to get a tier 5 wand and just randomly roll it up. I don't know if I would give that to my players exactly, but let's roll a spell tier here, 2d6. Well, there you go, tier 5. That's what I just rolled. So then we roll a d12 for what kind of, oh my god. So if I just followed through with this random stuff, because maybe I didn't know better or whatever, I would just give my players a Wand of Wish. Let's read the wish spell, shall we? This mighty spell alters reality. Make a single wish, stating it as exactly as possible. Your wish occurs as interpreted by the GM. Treat a failed spellcasting check for this spell as a critical failure and roll the mishap with disadvantage. Honestly, that's fair. I mean, it's still pretty good, but it's not insane. Because remember I said that if you critical fail on a spell cast, you can't... the spell doesn't go off. So, and this is tier 5, which means that they would have to roll a 15 or higher on the spellcasting check. Otherwise, the spell doesn't occur and the wand breaks, and you roll the mishap with disadvantage. So this is really like going to be slim odds, clutch sort of like, oh god, I need a wish now. I'm going to use my wand. And then hope for the best. And I think that I also maybe ruled that if you critical fail, you can't use a luck token. That might be a house rule. I don't think that's by default. But I think that's also fair. I think it's a fair house rule in general. One should be pretty punishing. So, yeah. Honestly, I don't actually think it's that broken. And I think it's kind of an interesting thing for him to hand you. Because that's a hefty penalty. What is a mishap that could occur? Well, we'd roll on the tier 5 mishap table, which obviously is very bad. So if you roll, it's a d12 list. If you roll a 2, for example, you deal 3d8 damage to yourself and every creature within 30 feet. Pretty bad. Pretty fucking bad. I mean, that's probably, at this point, likely close to a TPK. If you roll a 3, an otherworldly blade cuts into your memory and you permanently forget one random spell. Pretty freaking bad, man. If you roll a 4, you accidentally summon a hostile Grimlow into a space near you that lasts for 2d4 rounds. What the hell is a Grimlow? Oh, it's a level 9... I mean, it sounds like an owlbear. It basically seems like an owlbear, but it's level 9, 43 HP, gets a grab attack and 3 bite attacks, dealing 2d8 damage each. So, needless to say, pretty bad. But, it doesn't... That's not an immediate death sentence or anything. A 6, you open a magic portal to another location, whether on this plane or another. Something dreadful will come through in 1d4 rounds, unless you close it with a DC 18 intelligence check on your turn. Brilliant. If you manage to roll high on this mishap table, it's still pretty bad. Like a 10. Is you must either permanently sacrifice a magic item or the ability to cast a tier 3 plus spell you know. If you roll a 12, you tear a large hole in the fabric of the universe close to you. The lightless tear grows larger every round. That's it. That's all it says, which sounds awful. That sounds like a whole giant plot quest sort of thing to close the tear in reality. And then if you roll a 1, you have to roll twice and combine both effects. Which, yeah, probably just fucking death sentence and awfulness. So, yeah, I mean, I was initially shocked and aghast and against this whole concept, but honestly, I think it's relatively fair and almost more like a trap than anything. That is rough. So, yeah, we're gonna give Denton this magic wand. Here, we'll give you this book for now. So let me go to spells, tier 5, wish, Wand. Wand of Wish. Yeesh. And I'd probably make most of that information evident to the players. So they know, like, yeah, you can wish for theoretically whatever you want, but good luck. Okay. Then we can sell him stuff because he is a merchant. He is willing to purchase our trinkets and baubles and rare stuff. So we're about to get a lot of money because this Secretive Philosopher's Stone is 500 gold. If we cut off the 10%, that's 450. And then I need a calculator. So 450 plus 10% of that is 135 plus 90. 675 gold for these treasures. Pretty lucrative stuff. And then I'd probably say that he has, like... Why did I close the calculator? He has, you know, he has magic items that he'd probably be willing to sell us. This is the guy, you know? Okay, we're way over encumbered now. Oh, we have more stuff. Oh, God. I picked up a lot of treasure in these old school modules. That golden skull, man. Okay, we're going to have way too much money, so we're going to have to buy some stuff to balance this out. Let's see, 135 plus 135 plus 135 plus 675 plus 36. 1,116 gold. Plus 40... Sure. 162. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of treasure, and we didn't even... I mean, we missed like half the shit. These old school modules just give so much, because this Sinister Secret Assault March is meant to, like, take you, like, a couple levels, really, or a level at least, and that's a lot of gold required. So you can see the drastic difference in loot that we get from this one compared to the Shadowdark one, which doesn't care as much about specific values. Not 250, this would be 225. Okay. Okay, we are loaded with money. We have 232 plus 722 plus 1,162 means we have 2,100 gold to spend however we see fit. So, let me look at, like, let's look at magic. I don't know. I don't think, where are we going to find a price list for this kind of stuff? The best thing that we really have is the axe thing for masterwork stuff. Which isn't magical, but it is really expensive. And gives +1 to attack and damage. And I guess I said that black silver was going to be around 1,000 gold. So I guess if we do that as our baseline for like a +1 magic weapon that has some sort of magic trait to it, that's reasonable, I think. So we probably want to get Norbert like a magic scimitar or something, you know? So let's say we want to spend 1,000 of our gold. He's just going to do that. He's going to spend 1,000 gold on a magic scimitar. So it's going to be +1 attack, +1 damage, and then we want to generate some kind of magical effect to it. Similar to black silver, but I don't know. Well, let's see here. Shadowdark does have this random weapon benefit table, so let's roll on that. And we get a 1. So it can cut or smash through any material. Okay, you don't want to give me a fucking lightsaber, alright? I mean, that's one of the most broken things I've heard of. So, no, not that. But instead... Okay, that's the same as black silver. Instead, Reroll natural ones once each when attacking with this weapon. Okay, that's balanced enough, I suppose. So now we're going to go to gear, and we're going to go to weapon. We're going to take the scimitar. We're going to give it to him. We're going to remove the short sword. We don't need that anymore. We're going to go in. We got to come up with a cool name for this thing. So this will be ChatGPT. Come up with a name for a scimitar that allows you to reroll natural ones when attacking. Now, I wanted to come up with kind of an evocative name about like a, you know, the surety of hits or something like that, you know. Fate's Crescent. Boom. Damn, it's so good. All right, that's awesome. Fate's Crescent. Perfect. All right. So, base weapon, scimitar, magic. It is equipped. And the value, this is going to be 1,000 gold. The effect is going to be attack. Weapon attack bonus 1. Weapon damage bonus 1. And then we can't really... There's not going to be one that lets you reroll. I mean, critical failure threshold, that's kind of interesting. But no. We're just going to add a new effect. Reroll natural 1. Allows wielder to reroll any natural 1s when attacking with this weapon. Must use second result. Done. Alright, Fate's Crescent. So there you go. +2 on his swing, 1d6 damage. He is still cursed. This guy probably can't decurse, but he might sell a scroll. He might have on him a magic scroll of remove curse. Or restoration, I think is what we were looking for. Because there is no remove curse in this game. So, what was the restorations? It's tier 3 priest. So Clara could attempt to use this. She'd have to roll a 13 on her spellcasting check, but she could use it. And I think we were saying that a scroll, yeah, level 1 scroll is 100, so this would be 300 gold. Or we could go to the city and try and get a priest there to cast it on us. And I don't know how much that would cost. Probably less. I mean, it doesn't really cost the priest anything, right? But it's more just like a donation you're making to the church, and they just set it at a price appropriate so that they don't have every, like, disease-ridden bum coming in and be like, please, I need restoration. Because presumably they can only cast this, like, you know, once or twice a day. So they kind of reserve it for those that can afford it. But then, you know, anytime some rich dude gets the clap, you can just go in and, you are restored. Thank you for your donation. So let's set it at 200 gold if we go to the city. So, but the actual scroll, if we want to cast it ourselves, because that allows you to take it with you and you can cast it any time, theoretically. We'll set it at 300, which, yes, is the cost if you scribed it yourself. I know, it should probably be more than that. But this guy, yeah, he'll sell it to us for 300. So I'm going to buy that. Now, scrolls. Because I think we have to remove that thing where... it gets cast on a failure. Because otherwise a scroll would just always be a guaranteed success. Which, honestly, maybe that's where I'd prefer it. But then there's no spellcasting check. And some spells do depend on the spellcasting check, like Turn Undead, to determine how effective it is. But I don't know. It seems rough to buy a scroll and then it just doesn't do anything. And it just burns up. I mean, it's probably fair. Because if I just guarantee that if you have a scroll that casts the spell, yeah, then you could theoretically just spend all your money on tier 5 scrolls and just cast them guaranteed, which would let you do some shenanigan stuff with wish spells. So, no, I think we have to abide by the rule there. And you have to make the roll, and if you fail, it doesn't happen. But, unlike Wish, we could use a luck token on it. So, she's going to try and cast it right away then on Norbert. So this is going to be a d20 plus 1. She failed. So she's going to use her luck token to re-roll that. There you go, success. So, Norbert has been cleansed. He can remove the Cursed Luck Stone. Throw that in the trash. I mean, we'll give it... Or you could change it to, you know, a purified Luck Stone that gives +1 to everything. But that seems a little too powerful to have on you. So, usually something gets decursed, it's just a stone at that point. The magic has been completely removed from it. But still... Norbert now, +3 with his attack, 1d6 +1 damage. If he can pull off some backstabs, that is 3d6 +1 damage. With advantage. Pretty good. He definitely has higher damage potential than Grim, if he can land a shot with a backstab. Okay, so then we have technically... like 600 gold left. Is there anything else that we'd want to buy? You know, we could buy maybe some other scrolls that we could do some stuff with, like priest scrolls maybe, tier 2 or something. You know, if I was gonna do more role playing or something like that, or if I wasn't playing solo, you know, Augury would be pretty useful. Zone of Truth could be pretty useful as just like a one-time thing. If we go to tier 3, you know, we could buy another Restoration Scroll, I suppose. Speak with Dead, Rebuke Unholy. So Rebuke Unholy is basically Turn Undead, but it also affects... No, I guess it doesn't affect Undead then. It affects Demons, Devils, and Outsiders. If you're lawful neutral. If you're chaotic, it affects Angels and natural creatures in the wild. So there's that. Lay to Rest, Mass Cure. I mean, Mass Cure sounds pretty good. Lay to Rest just destroys any undead creature of level 9 or less. Just guaranteed dead. Obliterated. No save, nothing. It's pretty good. Mass Cure. All allies within near range of you regain 2d6 hit points. Honestly, that could be pretty clutch. I'm going to buy a scroll of Mass Cure. We'll spend 300 gold on that because it's a level 3 spell. Again, we're only going to want to use that when we have a luck token. But, yeah, not too shabby, I think, in a clutch situation. The rest things that I could buy, maybe healing potions, if those are allowed, if we're putting a value on those or anything. I know plenty of people don't like healing potions. Just the whole concept of healing potions. And obviously they're not meant to be a big part of Shadowdark. Certainly no easy value listed here. Yeah, so some person here says they price them at 50 gold a piece, which is relatively reasonable. But it also might be a bit too low, considering how much money they're bringing in. Yeah, it's kind of against the whole design philosophy here to even allow healing potions to exist. I mean, obviously players tend to want them, but... It says here, okay, page 269, magic items can rarely be bought or sold. In such a case, weak magic items are worth 1d6 times 100 gold. Powerful ones, if not priceless, are worth 2d6 times 100. Okay, so if we're counting magic weapons as powerful, then I think we set our price relatively appropriately. So yeah, I guess a weak magic potion would probably be worth like 300 to 400 gold. But it is guaranteed healing, which is meant to be pretty rare and uncommon. Do we want to throw our money at that, or should I just save it because we might want to hire an army? I probably should save it at this point. So I'm going to move this 232 gold over to Norbert. 394, I think he's at. Yeah, okay. And that's all fine then. That's all fine. We'll save up our money because we do still have back at home 483. So yeah, we spent, God, what did we spend? 1,600 gold here? Quite a bit. I mean, that would have bought us a good amount of men for a short amount of time. But, you know, I think it's necessary upgrades so that we can get more treasure. And Norbert obviously is very pleased with this transaction. Got a sweet new sword and got his curse removed. So, all right, then we're gonna just kind of spend the night. We'll camp out here. So we will roll another d6 for a night encounter. No, we're good. And then we'll head back to Bailey Thorpe, which is another 4 checks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got one more random encounter. I guess we'll roll on Shadowdark again, because it worked out for us pretty well. And we're still in the grasslands, I'm pretty sure. D100. 22. We get 1d4 wyverns sun themselves atop striated Badland hills. Okay, so in the distance in the hills, we see 2 wyverns sunning themselves. Now, wyvern is level 8, 15 AC, 37 HP each. And, boy, you get 3 attacks per turn at +6. 1d8, 1d8, 1d6, and then you have to make a DC 15 con check or take 2d10 damage. And they can fly at double near speeds. Needless to say, these things are pretty dangerous. So, I guess we know what they're doing. They're sunning themselves. I suppose there could be a reaction roll to see if they're just like, oh shit, you know what? I'm actually kind of hungry. And that looks good over there. So we could roll 2d6 for that. We got 11, which means they're curious about us, but they're just kind of watching us from a distance, lazily. So I think we would just be like, wow, that's crazy. Who, you know, never seen something that cool. And we keep walking. And that's your encounter. Yeah, it gives us the option if we wanted to go attack them, but that would be pretty dumb. All around, pretty freaking dumb. So, because we can't even blind. Oh no, you can blind. Blind works on anything. It's pretty juicy, but no, still bad idea. Bad idea. So we'll keep moving. We make it to Baileythorpe. We spend another evening there. Also, we have to give Torsen his share of all our treasure. So, whatever this is divided by 4.5. God, we got to give him 235 gold. Fuck. No. 394 minus 235. 5. 159 gold left. And Torsen, he'll take the gold, but he'll secrete it away at his house. He'll give it to his family. Like, holy shit. We are rich. That is a lot of money for just like an average peasant. 235 gold. Based on Axe standard of living, 235 gold would give them... Oh, God. That's enough for like 2 years for a journeyman artisan, you know, of like an adequate standard of living. Like, you move quite a bit up to like middle class for a couple years. And he's like, there's a lot more where this is coming from. These guys are getting loads of treasure. And all they do is pay me to hold the lantern. But it's like, yeah, I mean, he's kind of indispensable. I'm not going to replace him with, like, a donkey, because I don't want to deal with a donkey going in and out of dungeons and stuff. And I don't want to carry all this shit. So, yeah, he's kind of indispensable. So, he gets some nice tips from the adventuring crew. Alright, well, that lowers our money by quite a bit. So we're at... let's dump off the rest. 483 in storage. Plus 122. Plus 159. 764. Yeah, that's our total in storage now. Well, we certainly spent our massive amount of money pretty easily. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that certainly took some time. Yeah, we're just carrying too much shit just on average. It's because of this armor. This scale armor is really hefty, and I think maybe we want to bump Clara down a bit. I don't know. It's hard to say. If she's just going to sit in the back with her crossbow and usually incast blind and stuff on certain people. Man, she's just so bad. So bad. She could get rid of the shield. Oh yeah, we had to eat rations. We had to eat one ration for the one night we spent out there. That deduct one from everybody, including Torsen. I mean, she could ditch the mace, because if she's ever going to go into melee now, she's using Thunderclap. So, alright, we'll ditch the mace. And I guess we'll ditch the shield. We don't need that. And then we'll have her hold the torch and the flint and steel, just in case. So, at least that frees up some space for Denton. Yeah, my changes to the encumbrance rules for armor and adding helmets in there definitely have worsened our slot requirement. You really, I'm basically incentivizing hiring a porter. But yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of your treasure is gonna go. You gotta give this guy a half share. And I'm sure some groups would balk at doing so. In which case, you know, they don't have to. They can carry all their own shit with very limited space for treasure. Or they could get a donkey and deal with the logistics of bringing donkeys in and out of dungeons and stuff. Or I guess you could hire or buy a slave, depending on the status of the slave trade. So you could buy a slave and just make him do it for no share of the treasure and just feed him. I guess that's an option. But then you always have to worry about him, like, escaping every night and stuff and trying to run away from you. So, you know, there's no perfect solution here. But alright, anyways. We are gonna now go back to the haunted house. Yes, we're gonna go back to the haunted house. So I roll another random encounter check on the way over there. And we do get a random encounter. Let's roll another grassland encounter. A pale wizard in black robes stands silently on a tall rock. Now, what am I meant to do with that, I guess? I guess on the DM side, that's it. You just say there's... I mean, I don't know how you know he's a wizard, but I guess there's a pale man in dark robes standing silently on a tall rock nearby, watching you, like a few hundred feet away. The players almost certainly are not going to be just like, well, all right, we just keep going. Wave to him and keep going. I guess some players might do that. Most are going to be like, who the fuck is this guy? I shoot him with my bow. I'm going to just charge him. You know, it's like, okay. And then I have to come up with how this wizard just decimates them, or what exactly he's doing there, what he's interested in. I mean, it can go in a lot of different directions, I guess. I guess let's just ask the Oracle, do we interact with this wizard? We don't. Okay. We just are like, that's weird, and we wave at him and continue on our way towards the house. I left it up to chance, alright? And that's the result. So we're going to go back to the house. And it is as we left it. I mean, we didn't really interrupt their operations at all. I think obviously they knew that we were there because the guy up the sentry or whatever they had heard us coming, and he went to warn everybody, but then we didn't follow through. So I think that guy afterwards, you know, they'd come in and they'd see that we poked around a bit. We took their bolt of cloth of silk. We were in the guy's like bedroom downstairs. But then they also see that we lifted the bar on the barred off room, and we went in there and they find like all the skeleton remnants, and then they find the alchemist corpse in there and stuff. We didn't actually take anything from the guy's bedroom, I don't think. No, because we didn't find the secret cavities. So we didn't take anything from his private quarters. So he's kind of surprised a little bit, but he's pleased. And then from the laboratory, there's not much in there. We took the big book. We took the stone that was in his hand. Oh, there is the gold rose and the 5 golden balance weights. So that's still sitting on the table. They definitely grabbed those for themselves, and they're like, holy shit, why did they leave this here? Hey, man. Don't have capacity to carry this gold rose back home. And we took the 47 gold. So, yeah. I think they're not really certain about us. Like, clearly we were capable enough and brave enough to go into this room marked danger. And we killed a bunch of skeletons. But then, yeah, I think they're a little confused about, like, what we're here to do. And just, like, yeah, the general inscrutable nature of adventurers in a D&D world. Like, who knows what we're thinking at any moment. I think, but they would continue just business as usual. They'd assume that, like, okay, they didn't find our secret door. They've just been poking around. They didn't interrupt our smuggling operations at all. So we'll move on. There is the matter of Ned, who we nearly killed. He might have recovered enough to interact here that we'd want to introduce him again. But I don't know. I'd still maybe lean towards he's resting it off because I don't think you heal a whole lot in like BX D&D. Trying to find that out. I don't know, where would that even be? Damage, healing, death. Healing. For each full day of complete rest, a character or monster recovers 1d3 hit points. So that's the normal old school rules. 1d3 for each full day of rest. He was down to like 2 out of 15. So, yeah, he's going to be resting for a couple weeks. Now, our characters heal full damage after every night because this is Shadowdark, and we're not following those rules. But you could just say that we're special or something. I don't know. Either way, because that is an obscene amount of healing every night, except that HP is not meant to represent your physical well-being and health or anything. It's meant to represent the general combat ability, including your luck and your willpower to continue fighting and so on and so forth. Blah, 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 blah. It's the same argument they make for like the Uncharted games of how he can get shot multiple times with keep going. It's because he's not actually getting shot. He's removing his luck, and as his luck expends down, eventually he does get shot, and that's what actually kills you. Plenty of people make a very similar argument for D&D games and for HP values and stuff. Is you're not getting stabbed 8 times, you're getting stabbed once after your luck and willpower runs out, and your stamina runs out. I don't know. It's usually not anything that ever comes up for me to care about. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a decent enough argument for Shadowdark that we haven't really taken much damage. Obviously, the argument breaks down entirely with the fact that, okay, well then, how does Cure Wounds work? And what happens when we go to 0 HP? And then we just recover, and then we spend the night and are back to full health. Obviously I went down, not because my luck ran out. I went down because I took a big hit, but then the next day I'm perfectly fine. So obviously the argument breaks down just in favor of simplification and ease of play. But yes, I think if you do want to run a grittier campaign, then doing a more realistic healing rate of 1d3 hit points per full day of complete rest. That's not overnight, by the way. That is an entire full day of you doing nothing but resting. And so, yeah, magical healing is a big thing. It's a big, big factor. I don't know. Again, I can see why Shadowdark didn't go for that, even though it's meant to be a dark and gritty kind of survival horror sort of game. But I'm pretty certain plenty of people have already house ruled the healing to be more like old school. Because, I mean, it makes sense. Like, if I get stabbed through the gut by a giant scorpion stinger, I'm not just... That's not patched over and healed by the next morning. You know, it's going to take days, if not weeks, to fully recover where I'm back to fighting fit. So, you know. Anyways. Getting off topic here. So we continue back down into the cellar. We're going to have to light our flask again. Light our lantern. Underclock's going to go back to 20, although we're not actually using it anymore. And so we go down in the cellar where the rot grubs were. Except now we don't have to deal with the rot grubs, and we're just moving to where we know the secret door to be. And so now, when we enter, the guy there is actually there, because he didn't hear us coming in this time. So he's seated at the north side of the central table, engaged in carving a model boat from a hunk of wood. So we open the secret door quietly, you know, because we're really not... I mean, we've been here, but we're not entirely sure. We're pretty sure people still live here, it seemed like. So we're going to open the door fairly quietly, but I'm not going to, like, stealth with Norbert or something. So we're just kind of being relatively quiet, which means that I'm going to give the guy a 1 in 2 chance on a d6 to be surprised by us. Okay, so he's not surprised. We weren't super quiet. We weren't super stealthy. So he kind of spins around as soon as the door opens. And now we're just going to roll initiative. And his goal, obviously, is going to be to run to the other secret door, to the cavern area, to warn his colleagues. So our initiative is going to be a +1 now, actually. 17. His is an 8 or so. So now we are going to butcher this man. We are going to slaughter him and rip him to shreds because he's a human and humans are evil. So Grim charges forward immediately with his black silver, and he rolls a critical failure. Yep, there's no help in that unless you had Fate's Crescent, but he doesn't. So the guy's going to be able to counterattack. Number 1 on the roster here. Okay, it's just... They're all first level fighters with 8 HP each. Each wears leather armor, AC 8, no dexterity bonus, armed with broadsword and dagger. This guy has a large gold earring in his right earlobe worth 15 gold, a belt pouch containing 3 gold, 13 silver, 7 copper, and a gem worth 200 gold. Why does he have that just on his person, up his ass? Again, they just throw treasure at you. Insane amount. Now, what's the Shadowdark stats for just a guy like this? Just a bandit, maybe? Bandit. Level 1. 13 AC, 4 HP. Club for +1, 1d4, blah, blah, blah. It's got the ambush ability. Let's see here. I mean, that's certainly valid, but if we wanted to look for a human enemy that had closer to 8 HP, there's the Berserker. That's not quite what I'm looking for. Although we could just take his stats. Page flip, page flip, page flip. Drow, no. No, the armor way too high. I mean, why are they AC 8? Okay, so they would have 11 AC from their leather armor, so pretty lightly armored. Well, the elf stats maybe, but that dex is way too high for it to be realistic. I think Bandit is probably what we're looking for, and you maybe could just bump up his health and be done with it. Or just use the Knoll stats or something. Any one of these stats is probably fine. And we don't really even need stats, to be honest. We know that he has 11 AC and 8 HP. And he probably swings with like a +1 and deals 1d8 +1 damage. Because he's a first level fighter. I don't think we really need to make it complicated or find specific stats in the Shadowdark book. So, I suppose that's what we will just go with. Well, he's counterattacking against Grim anyway, so he'll probably miss. No, he didn't miss, so we'll do 1d8 +1. Well, yeah, that's a broadsword? But we're going with a broadsword. I'll just read it as longsword. So yeah, 1d8 +1 damage against Grim is 8 damage. Ah, so definitely took a chunk out of Grim. You son of a bitch. Norbert will hop over with Fate's Crescent and try and slash him. Definitely does. He's down to 5 HP. Denton will cast... I mean, if we actually want to try to kill this guy, I'm probably going to swing the longsword. 11 is a hit for 8. Decapitated. Cut that head right off. Good job, Denton. Yeah, Clara's going to cure wounds on Grim. We have no luck tokens, though. It's very risky. Sure, she can do it. No, critical failure. No, penance. No. No. Okay, so according to penance, she'd have to like donate or sacrifice 5 gold. But if we wanted to roll Tales of Argosa for atonement, rites of atonement, we could roll on this table as a d20 of what she has to do to atone. Ministry of Compassion. Spend 1d4 days counseling strangers, including treating or managing madness. Okay, so we have to go back to town and spend 1d4 days with her just doing community service. Alright, that's fair. I mean, we're going back to town anyways, and whether it's 1 day or 2 days or whatever, bottom line is no cure wounds, and it doesn't work at all. Okay, fine. He'll heal from black silver anyways. We're not going to count that as a significant fight, although I feel like it was significant. So, I don't know. He did a lot of damage, and we lost cure wounds. So maybe what normally would not have been significant became significant. But no, we'll leave it. Okay, but we certainly cut off him signaling to any allies. And we'll poke around again. I think we'll move our light down again. We'll poke around again because clearly someone's living down here. And so we'll search, and now we will find the secret door here. Because that leads up to that trap door in the kitchen or whatever. Not the kitchen, but the living room upstairs. So we already know about that. But yeah, we find the secret door. And we're going to trek downwards. Grim in the lead. Down to room number 25. We'll lower the light again. Your lights show a natural cavern, roughly circular and about 20 to 25 feet in diameter. There appears to be nothing of interest here. At a point on the ceiling roughly halfway between the 2 passage mouths is a large green slime, which will almost certainly drop on the party if they pass below. Green slime attaches itself to living flesh, and in 1 to 4 melee rounds, turns the victim into green slime. No resurrection possible. It can be scraped off quickly, excised, frozen, or burned. A cure disease spell kills green slime. Other spells and physical attacks do it no harm. Roughly halfway between the two passage mouths. 26 is empty. There's nothing there. 27, though, has people. So if we look at the map, are we interpreting as the green slime is here? Or maybe here? I think maybe here. Probably here. Because this thing is not just going to be there with them, like, moving back and forth all the time. Like, they would have burned it long ago or something. Wouldn't they? I mean, they wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, there's old Slimy on the ceiling again. He's going to turn you into green slime. Watch out. Ha 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 ha. So I think it's maybe back in this corner. And they don't really ever go back there. They have no purpose to do so. So, that's how I guess I would rule it. Or it's meant to be in the middle of this room, between the two passage mouths. That could be as well. So how would I telegraph this? I guess you'd see, like, some sort of green, maybe liquid, semi-liquid substance on the ground. Is how I would say when I was describing the room. And, like, in the center of the room on the floor, you see some sort of slightly translucent green liquid substance. I don't know if I'd say liquid, but I don't want to say slime because I feel like that gives it away. Gelatinous substance? Yes, translucent green gelatinous substance on the ground. And then let them go from there, and whether they look up or not. Let's use the Oracle. Do we look up? We do. All right, so we see this patch of green slime on the ceiling. I think we would probably just avoid that entirely then. We have no interest in that. So we'd sidestep around it to go to 26. Light goes down. And then 26 is nothing. We already know that. Then we'd sneak over to 27. But we can't be too sneaky because we got a lantern. This cavern, like the passage leading to it, is well lit by torches held in brackets around the walls. Stacked against the wall to your left as you enter, you can see 5 small bolts of cloth, while to your right are 8 small casks in a neat row. Okay, so we actually didn't need a light now. So we can turn that off. Because this is all lit by torches. Unless they have been previously alerted, there will be 2 humans and 2 gnolls in this cavern. The first human is Sanbalay, the smuggler chief and a 4th level illusionist. He carries 3 daggers and wears a belt pouch containing 7 gold, 5 silver, 3 EP, the key to the chest under his bed, a set of loaded gaming dice, and 3 gems, or 250 gold pieces each! Jesus, these values are just off the chain, man. Assisted by the other smuggler, he's checking a manifest of contraband received the previous night as it is carried up from the sea by his assistants. He knows Keller's Spray, Hypnotism, Wall of Fog, Invisibility. A human smuggler, number 2 on the roster, is assisting his chief in checking inventory. Then you have gnolls, both armed with battle axes. These creatures are under Sanbalay's hypnotic influence. They will unquestionably obey him as their master, and they cannot be coerced or charmed into betraying him. And look at this scene going on. Okay, so... Okay, these are the bolts of cloth. I was like, what the fuck is coming out of her head? Wow, bolts of cloth is way bigger than I thought. That's like a rolled up rug or something, a carpet. Okay, and she's in throes of agony because of this creepy bastard. This is like Weinstein, you know, and just... Oh, don't look at me! Yeah, he's casting magic spells. Then the warrior over there is fighting a gnoll. Then there's this guy, which I think is another... Oh, no, he's biting his ankle! Oh my god! Dude, you two are way outmatched. Okay, so that's what San Belay looks like there. One gnoll has a gold brace on his arm, valued 75 gold. Each bolt is of silk, valued 100 gold. Each cast contains brandy, valued at 50 gold. Well, now that I know what a bolt of silk looks like, yeah, we would have had to, like, two-man carry that out of the dungeon. Okay, that's really good to know. So, but yeah, I mean, this is all worth money, but then at the same time, you just kill this one guy and get 750 gold of gems, which is a lot easier to carry out. All right, so I think basically we would kind of hear them talking, you know, their voices kind of echoing off the cave. We've not done anything to make noise now. We've been pretty cautious, so we definitely know that they're there, and they're not really aware of us. That meaning, like, when we're, like, at this point of the cave. So, before we can see them or anything, we can hear them. And there's no need for a stealth check this far away yet. We just haven't done anything noisy. If we dealt with the green slime, then maybe I could see that being noise, but, yeah, we're good. So then, the only other thing I want to see is 28. Okay, so then there's 3 smugglers kind of on patrol, carrying stuff back and forth from, like, down here. They're coming back and forth. So, however we want to adjudicate that, I'd say basically, yeah, probably when we engage this, there'll be, like, one guy here, there'll be a second guy here, and then a third guy over here. So, yeah, there's going to be additional fights happening. Then, 29. The other 3 human smugglers are here taking a rest before continuing the transportation of the contraband. Okay, so, alright, you have 6 smugglers. Plus 1, 7. Plus San Belay. Plus 2 gnolls. That is a hefty encounter we're looking at here. And it's kind of tricky because this is all well lit, so we can't really sneak over. I think we kind of need to get them by surprise by just running in. I think rather than trying to, like, slowly sneak over, I think that's more likely to just fail. So probably we just run in, and our goal is to get Denton to just cast sleep as much as possible, which is going to put any smugglers to sleep. It's going to put the gnolls to sleep, and will not put San Belay to sleep because he's a level 4 illusionist. So unless I crit, that's not happening. But yeah, the gnolls and the smuggler. And then, assuming we manage to hold on to sleep, any smugglers that then reappear from the south, we can put them to sleep as well. But as for San Belay, we want to hit him with Blind Deafen, and then Grim and Norbert just go to town on him. So, yeah, that's basically it. We're just going to charge in. Not roaring or anything, but we'll move very quickly, and we'll just give the 2 and 6 chance to try and surprise them. And Torrison can just stay back because he's not needed at this point. We don't need his light. So 1d6. Okay, so we don't surprise them. They kind of turn and see our and hear our movement. But combat initiates. We're gonna roll Dex. Crit. Okay. Give that to Denton. We don't want him to lose sleep on a first cast. So we're going to give him the luck token. And their initiative doesn't matter, and we go first. So Denton is going to quickly move up, and he's going to catch all 4 that are in here with sleep. Okay, he failed. Well, good thing we got the luck token. Still might fail. Nope, crit! Alright, I'm gonna give him the luck token back. Excellent, which means we put fucking Sanbalay to sleep as well. Alright, we just nullified this whole goddamn encounter. Thankfully, he's level 4 and not 5 or anything. So yes, we put him to sleep. The whole room drops. We do see to the south, though, a smuggler carrying up a crate. So he's a little preoccupied with the crate. Or casks. Yeah, they're carrying... casks. So Grim is going to charge forward to this guy now and stab him with black silver. Okay, 4 damage. Stab him right in the chest. Norbert then will join Grim. Try and slit this guy's throat with Fate's Crescent. Critical failure. I'm not going to give this guy an op because he's carrying the cask, but I think at this point he does drop the cask. So that's that. And then Clara, she doesn't really have many options. I guess she could shoot the unconscious guys. Yeah, we weren't gonna rule with unconscious and stuff that you have to like just roll your attack with advantage. It was gonna be an auto kill if you can do it. So she's just gonna go over with her crossbow bolt and just like stab Sanbalay in the neck with a bolt to just end him. Okay. So now the guy that dropped the cask probably should just run, but where is he gonna go? So he's gonna draw his sword and swing at Grim. He rolled a 1, so Grim gets to free counterattack on him. Hey, 19! Although that's not a natural 19. But either way, we kill him. I heal 6. Ha 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 ha! We're too damn powerful now. I've beaten Shadowdark. And now we can go back and whoop that Roper real good. We might do that next time. Okay, and then the other two kind of quickly rush up. They're not going to get an attack or anything, but they drop their casks, they've pulled out their weapons, and they're ready to fight. New initiative. We get an 8, they got a 15 or 14. So one's going to attack Grim. Misses. One's going to attack Norbert. Hits for D8 plus 1. 2 damage. Basically nothing. We get to go. Denton doesn't even need to cast Sleep on these fools, so he's going to join Clara in butchering the other combatants over there that are sleeping. Grim will stab one of these guys. 23, 8 damage, kills him right through the neck. Which means he heals for another 6. Oh my god. And Norbert will then try and cut down this last guy. Fate's Crescent. It is a hit for 6, so this guy's at 2 health. Alright, this is probably where he surrenders, and he just throws down his weapon. He says, oh, please don't kill me, I was just doing as I was told. Yeah, likely story, motherfucker. Black silver! Dead. Alright, encounter over. Now that is 100% an encounter that would just be way, way harder running BXD&D as written. I mean, this is likely what's going to occur, I think, if you run this normally with old school rules. Whereas running it with Shadowdark, I mean, again, depending on how the DM adjudicates some stuff, but we didn't get a surprise. We won initiative, and we crit on the sleep. So, I mean, I ran Shadowdark as is. Well, wait, hold on. The only thing that might be... Yeah, the only thing that's probably I did wrong against my own house rule was that I gave luck token from initiative, which I said I wasn't going to do. Because it's a little too cheesy. So technically I would have failed sleep. Sanbele would have still been up. And the encounter would have been probably quite a bit different. But this way I don't have to come up with actual, like, stats for Sanbele and what he can do. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, I'm not going to retcon it or anything. But, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to... Probably wouldn't want to give luck for initiative. I just saw that it... Because I actually rolled it as a dexterity check instead of as just a d20. So I just see this big critical success text come up, and it's like, oh, yes, excellent. Luck token. But, yeah, okay. Well, we won. I'm only going to give... I don't know, that really is like the big finale of this whole section. It probably should be 2 XP. And we handled it pretty amazingly. So I'm going to go 2 XP on that one. Just for the fight itself. So they dropped the casks. That's all busted. There is the other goods that we could carry out if we want. We get a gold bracelet off of one of the gnolls. So that's 75 gold. We'll add that. Gold bracelet, 75 schmeckles. But then there is, well, we can actually look at the roster here, because they all have little goodies that you're just going to, like, write down on your sheet. Yeah, because we killed, so that's one, yeah, okay, this is all, everything. All this. You get all this. If you search all the bodies, this is just an absurd amount of treasure. And it's all things I'd have to carry, although I'd make some strong arguments about a ring and a pair of earrings taking up a slot. So I don't think they would all take up treasure loot slots. But yeah, you'd get gosh, 110, 125, 200, 275, 300, 420 gold just off of the smugglers and their jewelry and stuff. Jesus. It's a little much. It's a little much that these smugglers would be bedazzled with so much gold jewelry and stuff. I don't think it's really realistic. We could roll on the treasure table instead. Just for all the smugglers themselves. As a group. Let's see here. What would that be? Where are my treasure tables? Oh, I'll find it. Don't you worry. It's in here. I'm gonna find it and it's gonna be so good. Treasure 0 to 3. Let's roll a D100 for what we find across all the smugglers here. A fucking 1. A bent tin fork. Alright, well, I'm not going to give up 425 gold for a bent tin fork, so let's re-roll that. 56. A pair of silver daggers. 10 gold pieces each. Now, it's a little bullshit, because I think I paid 30 gold for my single silver dagger. Which is why this treasure table is kind of ridiculous. Let's go Tales of Argosa. Let's try that instead. So this would be probably... Let's go with Carry Loop B as the table. So this will be a D100 roll for that one. 46. Silver equal to the reverse of the digits on the D100 roll, plus an item. The reverse of the digits. So 64 silver. And remember, this is a silver standard, so for us, it would be 64 gold.
plus an item. Roll a d10, a 1. And a spice jar. A jar of spices. Is this actually an item? Not really. I think it's just meant to be a jar of... Oh, there it is. Spices. So, yeah, it's just a jar of spices one of them has on. The cook of the group, I suppose. He's got his precious jar of... his homemade blend of spices. But all right, I'm good with 64 gold. I think that's a fair amount to find here. And I'd probably count that as 1 XP by itself. We'll count 1 for the gold bracelet. And then the... San Belay has the 250 gold gems. I'd probably drop that down to 1 gem. Otherwise, we're really getting out of hand here. That's just so much money. Let's see. Yeah, so the 5th edition version drastically lowered the amount of treasure, like absurdly amount. It removed all 3 gems from San Belay, just has the well-crafted loaded dice worth 20. The golden apple and golden rose are worth 5 gold now instead of 150. The skull is worth 20 now instead of 750. The Philosopher's Stone book worth 50 instead of 500. And I guess it included some other stuff. Like threw a bag of holding, I guess, in the skeleton room. It put gold in all the foot lockers, totaling 70 gold. So it did some changes there. But yeah, by and large, just drastically lowered the values of all the treasure and removed some treasure. I don't know. Is that more fair? It's weird because like D&D 5th edition, you actually can buy a lot of stuff with gold. Like you can buy magic items, you can buy, you know, +1, +2 weapons, +1 armor, you know, all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of money sinks in modern D&D. Whereas in old school D&D, it's your XP, and that was the point of money. And then you spent a lot of money on training expenses and stuff. So, you know, but we're kind of in this weird thing with Shadowdark where the value of gold doesn't really matter for XP purposes, but then there's also practically 0 money sinks at all in the core rulebook of Shadowdark. So it's just like money is just whatever. Like you basically just say, okay, you find treasure, mark it down as an XP. And it's like, I don't know, basically you have money, but you don't need it. What are you going to spend money on? I mean, honestly, in Shadowdark, what are you spending money on? If I'm just following the core rulebook and information within the core rulebook, it's like nothing. It's just nothing. There's nothing to buy ever. And it's very specific, you know, they're really against buying any sort of magic items or anything. So you're just looking in the gear section, and that's nothing. The most expensive thing you can possibly get is like mithril plate mail, which is 520 gold. And that's it. That's the single most expensive, assuming you even can use plate mail and want to have it. Nothing else. There's no higher end weaponry. No purchasing of magic items, no training expenses, no rules for buying scrolls even. There's no information for hirelings. There's no information for buying property. Nothing. So it's like treasure just doesn't matter in the core game of Shadowdark. It's just something you find abstractedly in order to give you XP. Yeah. And for me personally, I just need more than that. So that's why we're kind of expanding. We're expanding Shadowdark in various ways. It's fine. Like, you can't find any information really about the original Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, because it's all just based on that new 5th edition thing, the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. It's like, no, I don't care about that. No one's running that. No one cares about that. We only care about the original module. Here's a guide for converting the original to 5th edition. It's just like, I don't know. It still feels like just a lot of treasure, because it just kind of feels like it throws off the whole economy. I mean, this guy, he's a smuggler chief, sure, but he's just casually carrying 3 gems worth 250 gold each. He's just casually carrying around 750 gold in his pocket. And if we go by axe numbers of like standard of living, you know, he's carrying around enough money for the middle class to live for like, I don't know, 5 years. But he is a 4th level adventurer, apparently. So his monthly cost of living is 100 gold on the bare minimum. So maybe more than that. So yeah, I guess if he's wheeling and dealing with luxuries and stuff like that, he might only have a few months in his pocket of just like you know, insurance that he just has some gemstones that he could pawn if he needed cash. So I guess, you know, and this standard of living is he is higher end. He's not a middle class sort of just artisan or skilled laborer or something. I mean, he's definitely got a whole operation going here. He's a mogul in a sense. So I guess thinking of it that way, it's like, yeah, he probably does have a lot of funds. He's just not very liquid for some reason. It's wrapped up in silk and casks, which makes sense. He's a smuggler, okay. But then the 3 gems instead of gold coins. I don't really know why. It seems a little gamey compared to him just having like a chest full of gold coins. I feel like that would make more sense and be a little trickier for players to deal with. So if I was going to change it, yeah, I'd probably say the chest under his bed has maybe 750 gold coins. And it's trapped with that little ink needle. See if anybody steals anything. I guess I'd go with that. So did we add the gold? I don't think we took the gold that I was going to take. 64 gold. So, we'll take 64 gold. And then we find the key on his person. So we'll take that. We find his manifest of contraband. So on and so forth. We poke around a little bit more. There's 3 bolts of cloth, 5 small casks in the middle of the floor. Again, there's a lot of money here if we wanted to steal this for ourselves and sell it. But I could also definitely see some players wanting to look at the manifest, looking to figure out where this came from. Well, okay, I don't think plenty of players, but I think there is a certain type of player that would want to look at the manifest, where this stuff was stolen from and taken from or whatever, and try and return it to rightful owners. Because it says they're smugglers, but who's smuggling silk and brandy? I feel like this has got to be stolen, right? Is it stolen goods that they're moving around? I feel like that would make more sense. I bet the Ghosts of Saltmarsh whole thing goes a bit more in detail than they bothered with here. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll touch it for now. And then the passage leads into a cave which opens directly to the sea. The tide is out at present, and there is little water in the cave, but there is an obvious high water mark which in places is 3 feet above the floor. Pulled up onto the sloping cave floor is a small boat, perhaps large enough for 8 men, with oars, a step-down mast, and a neatly furled sail. A rope tied to the bow has been weighed down by a large boulder which serves as an anchor. The jolly boat might fetch as much as 90 gold pieces in Saltmarsh, has 2 hull points. There's nothing aboard apart from the normal tackle. Since bolts of silk and casks of brandy are cumbersome as well as heavy, the party may well use this boat to transport the contraband to Saltmarsh. Should the party succeed in wiping out the smuggling ring, a grateful Saltmarsh Town Council will vote them a reward of 500 gold pieces per surviving party member. Which, yes, that's 500 XP. Should they also succeed in killing or capturing San Belay, the reward will be doubled. Oh my god. So, a party of 4 making it back, it's 4,000 gold. And each person 1,000 XP. Just from that. They will be allowed to keep any treasure they find, but will not get full value for silk and brandy in Saltmarsh. They will be asked politely but firmly to pay 25% excise duty on the value of any contraband, thus retaining only 75% for themselves. Awful characters should pay without hesitation. Weird. The party will need to rest and recuperate for a while before they can pursue the second part of this module. Again, ensure they pay for their food, accommodation, and other living expenses before they are invited by the town council to the meeting which starts the next adventure. Part 2, The Sea Ghost. Ooh, yes, we are like not even halfway, really. This is a lengthy little adventure, but I think that you'd almost certainly, if you started this at level 1 and you did all this, you'd pretty much certainly be level 2 by now. Okay, well, we will take the boat, and I guess we will take some of these silk bolts and casks back. Yeah, we'll just take the 5 casks and the 3 bolts here on our little boat, and we'll sail back over to Baileythorpe. So we do get XP then for that, because that's treasure. That's the point. And we also get XP for completing the whole mission and saving, you know, stopping a smuggling ring. That's pretty big. I think the biggest thing that I'm going to have hiccups on with this XP system is exploration. Like getting an XP for interacting with mysterious dungeon components like levers, buttons, etc. Or discovering a secret door, and 2 XP if we open it. Like, that's a lot of XP just for secret doors. I don't know if I'd count that as much. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little vague, but obviously you're meant to be throwing out XP kind of left, right, and center if players are doing dangerous stuff in dangerous locations. But then there's also the blanket bonus XP stuff, which is where we're kind of go into here. So for the little extra treasure we get, let's say we also go and use that key and find his chest in his personal quarters after looking around for a while. We get 750 gold, which overloads us, but you know, we're taking the whole chest and putting it in the boat as well. So let's see, that's gotta be worth like 2 XP. The other stuff 2 XP, and then actually completing the whole thing and killing Zon Belay gotta be worth like 5, right? So if we're doing the whole thing, I don't know, probably, you add that all up, I guess 9 or 10. Let's make it an even 10. 22. Remember, we need 60 here to level up, so it's pretty big, but it's not going to come that often. That's not going to happen that often where you get 10 XP and finish a whole quest. So I think it's reasonable. Okay, so we sell 5 casks at 75% value. So that's 50. 75% of 50 is I'm sure I can numbers in my head, and we do numbers stuff, and I'm thinking 75 of 100 is 75, so half that is 32. No, not at all. 37. So we get 37 for each of the 5. So calculator, 37 times 5, 185 for the casks. I will write that down. 185 for the casks, and then the bolts, that's easy. 75 times 3 is 225. For 410 gold from that extra loot, plus the 750 from the coins. Good. But then we have to pay fucking Torsen. So let's see. From that recent expedition, we got 410 plus 750 plus 64 plus the gold bracelet, which is let's see, god, 67 gold, 67 gold and 5 silver. Yes, plus 67. Okay, so all told, that last trip back into the house got us nearly 1,300 gold. Divided by 4.5, 286. So half of that is 143. Okay, 144, we'll say. So 750 minus 144. We end up with 606 there. And he squirrels more money away. He's got to be pretty close to wanting to just retire here, but it's just so easy for him. Okay, still a pretty good haul. So if we dump all this money, 606 plus 410 plus 64 plus 67. Okay, and then we add that to our 764. We have 1,911 in storage. Stuffed under our mattresses, basically. Okay. Delete all this, delete all this. It's all sequestered away safely, but surely. Probably want to put it in a bank at some point, but... Because that, you have to consider all this of, like, the weight of coins and actually moving around coins and stuff. If we want to carry all our money to the big city, we're going to have to get a cart and load it with 1,900 gold coins and hope that we don't get attacked. There's a lot of logistics with that, and you could put it into a bank and it's safe and secure compared to your house, but then it's only one bank. This isn't the modern world where they just are like, yeah, they've got 1900 on file, go ahead, give them their money. So I mean, some fantasy settings might have that, but usually not. And then yeah, so like we go to a city, we want to hire an army or a mercenary troop, we got to take the money there, spend the money there, bring some money back, blah blah blah. It's a whole ordeal. But this is what you have to do if you want to add real kind of weight and verisimilitude to your setting and to your game. All right, I think that's a good spot to stop. I do think we probably could hire a mercenary troop to maybe deal with the gnolls or the zombies is probably more pressing. Probably could hire a troop to deal with the zombies. I wish Axe had like sample armies or something. Of just like an example, like here, this is what it would cost to hire, 50 light infantry, 50 bowmen or something like that. This is what it would cost per month. But I guess it's easy enough maybe to just figure that out yourself. Yeah, I guess it's easy enough to maybe figure that out yourself. Light infantry, that would be 50 times 6, which is 300. And then 50 bowmen, just normal bowmen, that's 50 times 9, which is 450. So you're looking at 750 gold if we wanted to hire for 1 month 50 light infantry and 50 bowmen, which is probably enough to take out 71 zombies. I would imagine, maybe. Can the average level 0 fighter take out 1 zombie? On average, probably not. Let's go by Shadowdark numbers. Let me look at a zombie. So zombie is level 2, has 8 AC, 11 HP, and attacks at +2 with 1d6. Pretty rough. The a level 0 character in Shadowdark, we went with 10 in everything. The average peasant. That might be a little unfair for like an actual light infantry though. I don't think it gave us good stats. Okay, well no, okay, so you have a 13 AC, which is not bad. That means that they'll hit on an 11 or higher. So 50% of the time. I mean, zombies will hit them 50% of the time. They have hit dice of 1 - 1, which is going to average out to, I think, 3 health. Oh, 4 health. Okay, I don't know why I always do the HD math before I look to see if there's an HP number. So 4 HP. They're going to attack as a level 0 fighter by weapon, which is a short sword. So 1d6, and they hit on, I don't know, a 10 or higher. I'd have to look in the monstrous manual to see what the stats would be for zombies for this system. Or I could just look at OSE, which would be way easier. Zombie. 11 AC, 9 HP, 1d8 damage at +1. Okay. So 11 AC would mean that they hit on an 11 as well. So they both have about a 50% chance of hitting each other. Except that zombies have twice as much health. That's pretty much what you're looking at. So pretty much you want 2 light infantry for every 1 zombie to be reasonably sure that they'll wipe each other out. But then you have the bowmen, which can kind of skew it a little bit because they're probably not going to be attacked. And they also are going to hit 50% of the time. So really, 1 infantry and 1 bowman is a decent match for a zombie. But the light infantry probably going to be decimated. So you could upgrade to heavy infantry to make them more durable. And actually give them, like, heavy infantry A has 16 AC, which makes the zombies much less likely to hit them. And they don't have double the battle rating of light infantry A, but yeah, 0-10 to 0-16. It would probably be a little better. Oh, here's kind of... Okay, that's pretty handy. So 120 light infantry is 1 battle rating. 120 heavy infantry is 2 battle rating. So if we wanted to go with heavy infantry, let's say heavy infantry and bowmen with for our idealized army here. That would be double the cost. So that would be 600 gold plus the 450. So we'd be looking at 1,050 gold to hire this troop for essentially 1 month or 1 operation. Either way. Like, if we had other uses for them for a month, but it really depends on how that first operation goes. Because morale could be quite bad. And that would be for 50 and 50. But we would be involved as well. We would be leading the fight, which helps. And we'd be able to cut down a handful of those zombies as well. I don't know, we might want to just do that. Maybe next time we just try and do that and try and save the town from the approaching zombies. That doesn't solve the problem. The necromancer still exists, but it would be kind of cool to try and launch a mass battle, because I've never done that. So maybe this is where we finally try and do it. Yeah. I don't know if Tales of Argos's mass battle rules are anything better, or they're probably a lot simpler. Well, no, there's no probably about it. They're 100% much simpler than Axe. So basically, Tales of Argosa doesn't seem to care about the specifics of one side versus the other. It's just... It's all about focusing on the PCs and various things that happen to them during the middle of the fight. It's just assumed that it's like a fair battle between the two sides, whereas Axe is like, no, we're gonna fucking figure this out. And we're gonna calculate everything, and we'll see. I understand the appeal of this sort of system for most games. Because, you know, I don't think Tales of Argosa is really built around domain play that much. So it's more like, okay, if you end up in a mass battle, like you're helping a lord as part of his war or something, you go into battle against a horde of zombies or something. It's just like, it's assumed that the lord has relatively enough men to handle most of it. And then, yeah, so there's sudden twists, there's things that can happen during the fight, very Lord of the Rings cinematic stuff that can happen, and then you do a final confrontation, which is the party against the enemy leader or boss. And then whoever wins that wins the mass battle, or as GM decides. So it's very PC focused, very cinematic and stuff, whereas Axe is like, no, we want to figure out the entire reality based on numbers and troops and types of troops and battle ratings and stuff to determine who's going to win this war and this battle. Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say probably for most groups, especially used to more modern D&D kind of stuff, Tales of Argosa's system is probably the way to go. If you're going to be ever involved in a mass battle. But if you're interested more in realistically running a campaign and your players want to get into hiring troops and building armies and stuff like that, Yeah, you may want to take a gander at Axe, or first edition AD&D in general, to kind of make it more realistic and more involved, if that's something everyone would enjoy. And Shadowdark, obviously completely useless for any and all of this stuff. But yeah, I think we'll try to hire some mercenary troops in the big city and bring them down to deal with these zombies. See how that all goes. And then after that, then we can then lead nicely into the second part of Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, because we're summoned to an emergency meeting because the smugglers are not done. They're still around, and we have to go out to sea, I guess, to take care of them once and for all. And that involves going out to their ship, the Sea Ghost. Pretty exciting. So far, my thoughts on Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh is honestly pretty good, all things considered. I mean, of course, there's various things that just have changed a lot over the years with adventure design, module design, but still, I would say this is pretty playable for like an OSR thing. We're quite powerful, so it's hard for me to really judge how difficult a lot of this would be, and I'm running it solo, which always skews things, but I think like the various encounters and the plot and everything, I think it holds up pretty good. I could see running this for people. So far it has my approval, but we'll see about part 2. For now, though, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging with Shadowdark, and I'll see you fine folks in the next part.